Hey everybody, welcome back to Running Denver TV. I'm Lonnie Summers and I'm here with a very, very special friend of mine, Tonia Smith. Tonia, thank you so much for being out here. She is truly remarkable. Her story is amazing and truly an inspiration too. Tonia, first of all, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got into running to begin with and ultra running.
Well, thanks for inviting me to come on your show, Lonnie. So I started running about 18 years ago. I was 28 years old and I had worked at a gym and a health club before, teaching fitness classes and personal training. And when I gave birth to my first daughter, they didn't have childcare for babies. So I got a running stroller and decided to give it a go. It was actually my second attempt at running. The first time was when I was in college. I tried and I didn't enjoy it. But the second time around, I really fell in love with running. About 11 months after I had my daughter, Riley, my oldest daughter, I ran my first marathon. And I didn't know anything about running. I did everything wrong. I ran 26 miles the week before the race, but I was completely hooked. I just, the minute I crossed the finish line, I was like, oh, that was so fun. I can't wait to do it again. Over the years, I've run probably 25-ish marathons. A couple years after my first, we moved out to Colorado, and that's when I discovered trail running. Fell in love with trail running. I mean, how can you not in this state? And so I tried my first 50K. I think my daughter was about 3 at the time. I'd been running for about 3 years and loved that. Took a break from running when I got pregnant with my second daughter, and not a break from running, but a break from racing. But eventually kind of worked my way back into marathons and ultra marathons. So that's basically how I got into it.
Tell me a little more about it. I'm always fascinated how you went from just kind of, hey, I don't have daycare for my child, so I'm just going to push him in a stroller and run, and you started falling in love with it. But what really kind of led you to go those further distances? Because most people finish a large event and they don't go, wow, that was fun. It's kind of like the first reaction is, wow, that hurt.
Yeah. Well, it did hurt, but it was one of those things. It was something that just had seemed impossible to me. I still remember I had been having a conversation with a friend of mine one day, and I think my longest run ever had been 7 miles, and I was so proud of myself. I just ran 7 miles. And so shortly thereafter, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I think there was some Boston Marathon coverage on TV, and he said, wow, could you imagine running a marathon? And I said no, but immediately the wheels started turning. And, so I kept kind of on the sly, not telling anybody, but I was increasing my long runs every week and just felt such a sense of accomplishment. And, when I crossed that finish line for the first time, it was something that I had never thought was possible. I didn't ever think that I could be a runner. And, when I finished it, and I finished well, I think I ran my first marathon in 3:50, which, it's not Olympic qualifying time certainly, but it was, I had achieved my goals basically. I really just couldn't wait to do it again. I ran another marathon 7 weeks after that, and just missed qualifying for Boston. And then that's when we moved out here and got my qualifier the third time out. And as I moved into trail running, I did Pikes Peak Marathon, and that sort of opened up my mind to kind of longer, more extreme events. And over the years, I kept kind of moving that goalpost a little bit, farther out as to what might be possible. And, with every race that I finished, every time I moved up in a distance, I thought, gosh, I couldn't have run another step. I don't know how people do X, whether it be 50 miles or 100 miles. And, you just have to sort of reestablish what is possible in your mind every time that you go up in distances.
So you're wearing a beautifully purple shirt today. It says Project Purple on it. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but in 2013, your life really turned upside down. Tell us more about what happened.
So I want to back up and incorporate the ultra bit into that a little bit. I had turned 44 in 2013, and I had decided, you've always wanted to run a 100-mile race. I mean, when I moved to Colorado, I'd heard about Leadville for the first time, and it, really piqued my interest. Well, raising kids and life just sort of got in the way. One day I woke up after having run a couple of 50-mile races, and I thought, either you're going to sign up for a 100-mile race now or it's never going to happen. So I signed up, after kind of looking at my options, I signed up for the Vermont 100, and I trained really hard that year. I did everything I possibly could to ensure success, and I went and ran it, and I came in 10th female. and was very happy. I had set a goal of finishing under 24 hours, and I finished in 22:33.
Wow.
So I was very happy about that. Just had a great experience. Then I came back here and I ran the Bear Chase 100K, which is just down the road, and I ended up winning that year, which was fabulous. But I've been having some nagging symptoms, just little things. I knew something was not quite right. And so I had recently changed doctors, and that doctor had ordered a CAT scan. And I received a phone call. I remember very clearly receiving a phone call, saying, from the medical assistant saying, the CAT scan revealed that there's a tumor in your pancreas and we need to do further testing. Thinking to myself, I'm perfectly healthy. I mean, there's something going on, but there's nothing wrong with my pancreas. I even texted a friend of mine who's a physician's assistant, and I said, I don't really think I need to have the follow-up test, do you? And she said, yeah, you do. So I went and I had a MRI followed up by an endoscopic ultrasound, and what we found out was that I had pancreatic cancer, which is just a devastating diagnosis. The 5-year survival rate for pancreatic cancer is just 6%. So, I went from thinking I'm this extremely healthy, still fairly young ultra runner, how could this possibly be? So I went in the hospital 7 weeks after winning the Bear Chase, and I had a procedure done where they removed half of my pancreas, my spleen, and several lymph nodes. And that was it's a very difficult abdominal surgery. I was in the hospital for 5 days. And, that's when I didn't even let myself think about cancer until I had the surgery. And I remember Googling survival rates when I was in the hospital once it was confirmed, because they couldn't really tell me for sure until I had the tumor removed, and just being absolutely shocked. For stage 1 pancreatic cancer, the 5-year survival rate is only about 20%, which it's by far the lowest of any cancer. So I followed up the surgery. I started chemotherapy in January of 2014, and I did 18 rounds over 6 months, and finished in June 13th, 2014. You don't ever forget the dates. So.
No. Well, it's truly miraculous that you're even standing here. I know, obviously, we see in the news and everything like that of celebrities that have had pancreatic cancer, and we hear about it all the time, that usually it is very terminal, and like you said, the survival rates are very low. So I'm so happy, because I've never got the chance to meet you, become a great friend, and you're truly inspiring because you've gone through this, you've fought this, and now you are what we call NED, no evidence of disease.
That's right. Thank you. Yes.
Huge. And I know
Yes.
you just went through some scans and everything like that, and everything came back really good.
Yep. I'm still no evidence of disease. I will be coming up on my 2-year anniversary of my surgery, November 18th, which is exciting. Most people don't make it this far. And I remember, being in the hospital when I saw the statistics, thinking about, the first thought in my head was, am I going to get to see my children grow up? There was absolutely no guarantee. My daughter now is 17. She'll be turning 18 next month. And, now I know, barring some unforeseen circumstances, I'm going to get to see her graduate. And I'm pretty confident that I will see my 12-year-old graduate also, which is huge, because I didn't have that guarantee. One of the first things I did was email 5 of my girlfriends, and I said, if I'm not here, you have to promise me, and I'm going to try not to cry, but you have to promise me that you're going to do all of the girly things that my girls need. Take them to get their nails done, take them prom dress shopping, because that's what, mom is supposed to do, those things. And, my husband's awesome. He's a great man, but I wanted to be the one to get to do those things. And so I've been extremely lucky, and I never, ever lose sight of that fact. And a lot of people dread birthdays. I'm coming up on my 47th birthday pretty soon, and I just think every year, gosh, I get to be a year older. I get to grow old with my husband. And that's something that's denied to so many people, especially people who've had the diagnosis that I've had.
Well, the story's incredible, because the fact that you are still out there running after
Yes.
everything you've been through, and it's only a couple years. And recently, which is so awesome, because I got to be there and announce you coming into the finish line at the Bear Chase 50
Yes.
mile. You finished 2nd place female
Yes.
overall, so congratulations
Well,
on
thank
that.
you.
How did you find the strength after going through everything that you went through to be able to go back out there and not only just to run generally, But you're back out there doing ultras, and you are running, and you're finishing in the top.
Well, I was fortunate going into this. I really believe that training for ultras prepared me to handle the cancer treatments. And I went into, I remember when I got out of the hospital, my doctor allowed me to run after 4 weeks after my surgery. And, I knew I was going to start chemo, so I was like, I have to get in shape for chemo. And so I started running right away as soon as he allowed me to. I had to hold my stomach because, I have an incision from here to here. So I had to hold it. It hurt. But, I really was training, I believe, to save my life. And so throughout chemotherapy, I had set a goal that I was going to run 2 days a week minimally. I ended up missing 5 days for the whole 6 months. I was very slow. I was anemic. I was tired. I was nauseous. But, I had so many tremendous friends who were willing to come out and jog with me when I was going through my treatments, even wait for me patiently if I was having a bad day and needed to throw up in the bushes or whatever. But, it really connected me to who I was. The running, it's just such an integral part of my life that I just didn't want to give it up. So when I came out of chemo in June, I was slow and I wasn't in great shape, but I was still, I had some semblance of my own, fitness level. So I trained, I had a goal. I wanted to come back to the bear chase because I had run the race the previous 2 years. So that was my first race that I ran in 2014. I ran the 50 mile and I came in 5th that year. I had a tough day, but I finished and I was very happy because that was 3 months after I finished chemo. I initially, right after that, I was like, I'm going to come back and run a 100-mile race. So I started looking and I found the Bryce Canyon 100, which is an ultra adventures race. And that was the one I decided on for a number of reasons. So I trained hard again. My body was not in the shape that it was in 2013. I'd been through a lot. It was very frustrating at times, discouraging at times, but it was all worth it. I went and I finished the race, exceeding my expectations. I finished in 30-ish. And I was second female there, so that was really, really exciting. I may be the only pancreatic cancer survivor anywhere to have finished a 100-mile race, so that's, it's very special to me. So that was in June, and I thought, well, I'll take a break for a little while, but the Bear Chase holds a very special place in my heart for obvious reasons. It was the last race I ran before my surgery, the first race I ran after coming back from chemo, so I came back this year. And I had a challenging day this year again. It was a tough race. It was very hot, and I just wasn't feeling my best, but I think it's all the preparation, the things that you learn through dealing with something like an illness or training for an ultra that enable you to kind of troubleshoot on the go and keep going even when it becomes difficult. So, so I finished second again this year, so that was exciting.
Slightly. Well, I kind of have to say that I would like to have your bad days when you run, because 3 months after chemo, you finished 5th. And then, Bear Chase, you finished 2nd overall for the women, so that's incredible. Yeah. It's totally incredible. Let's talk a little about Project Purple. What's it about, and why is it so important to you?
So as I was coming through my cancer treatments, I had really, I'd been looking for a way to become involved and, sort of give back to pancreatic cancer charity, fundraising, awareness, that kind of thing, because pancreatic cancer, even though it's the 4th most deadly cancer in terms of overall numbers of deaths, it's the most deadly cancer in terms of survival rates, but the funding is very limited for pancreatic cancer. Research into a cure from the federal government is a very, very small percentage compared to other cancers. And one thing, when you come through an illness like pancreatic cancer, and I've talked about this publicly before, a lot of us struggle with survivor's guilt. When you look around, if you look around a room of 100 people, if 94 people are gone after 5 years and you're one of the few that's left standing, you wonder to yourself, why? How did I get to be so fortunate when other people who are, equally deserving of living and seeing their kids grow up, they were not fortunate, they didn't make it. So I was contacted by a woman on the board of Project Purple because I do some writing, and she had asked me if I would write a blog for them featuring, it's a running charity, and we have teams of people who run most of the major marathons, and we have a couple 5Ks that we put on. So she asked me if I would feature some of the runners for a blog. So I started doing that and really enjoyed it. The stories are so inspiring, you know, people who are running, you know, Boston, New York, Chicago. We just had a team at Chicago, and this weekend we have a team at the Denver Rock and Roll Marathon, so that's very exciting for me. And other races, we've added Big Sur recently. So, you know, people who are running for family members who are either currently fighting or, you know, who've lost their battle. So it's, you know, it's been a very fulfilling experience for me to be a part of that and use my own talents and abilities and passions to help raise money. We fund clinical research. We also help patients who are struggling to pay either medical or other bills. You know, cancer treatments, even when you have insurance, are extremely expensive. So we've been able to help people, you know, if they couldn't pay their rent or their utility bills, those kinds of things. And we also give out scholarships to students who've been affected by pancreatic cancer in some way, whether it's a parent or grandparent, because, you know, the effect on the whole family is just tremendous. So, like I said, we currently do marathon and half marathon teams. We also have a pioneer program where people can choose any race that they want, and they, you know, can fundraise for that race. And then we've got some 5Ks. I race directed a 5K in the Springs last year, and we will be doing it again this year, April 3rd. So if people want more information about that, they can go to run4projectpurple.org. So it's run4projectpurple.org.
Wonderful. Well, Tonia, thank you so much for coming out, and really, you have to be inspired by her story. It just really shows that you think that all of us out there that are running all the time, you know, don't just kind of go out and carefree, and we have amazing challenges. Truly inspirational, all the stories that we feature on Running Denver TV, and Tonia is no exception to that rule. And thank you so much for coming out, and certainly make sure that you guys hang around on April 3rd. We want to see you down in the Springs, helping us support and help all those families, and especially our patients and our friends and family that have pancreatic cancer. Thanks, Tonia.
Thank you, Lonnie.